Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Creator's Apprentice. I'm David Kruger, where we don't just study success, we create it and make it available to you. I have, over the course of the last several weeks, done a series of episodes called Fly on the Wall, where I have interviewed multiple people, successful people, business people, professionals who have had the opportunity to spend 24 hours with Kevin Trudeau, generator of billions in sales, infomercial king, New York Times bestselling author, and former chairman of an elite secret society called the Brotherhood. Kevin is the founder of the Global Information Network, a private club dedicated to disseminating this education to anyone who may step up and want it. My guest today is a dear personal friend of mine, Ben Johnson. Ben grew up on a farm in Illinois and has spent more than 30 years in agriculture, working every seat at that table. He's been the farmer raising cattle. He's been the technologist researching, developing, and implementing new technologies at agricultural tech companies. He's been the operator leading sales inside 3 venture-backed agricultural tech startups where he's driven more than $20 million in sales. And he's been the investor holding a stake in the company with a 9-figure valuation that he believed in before it ever launched its first product. Earlier this year, Ben did something very few people ever get to do. He spent 24 hours as a fly on the wall, silently observing one of the most successful entrepreneurs alive and watching exactly how a master runs his day, his business, and his life, as so many of us also have. Ben has written this up as what I think is a very well-written essay called Fly on the Wall in a Billionaire's Office. Ben isn't sure if he's going to release this. Maybe we can convince him throughout the course of the episode. But based on reading this, I have a few questions for Ben. So, Ben, welcome to the Creator's Apprentice. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, David, and thank you for that nice, warm introduction.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad to have you here. You know, we were at my wedding celebration a week ago, and Ben had mentioned that, you know, he just did his fly on the wall. I said, "Have I interviewed you yet?" He said, "Well, no." And so I said, "We're doing this," and booked it. And Ben, we're going to do this interview. I know you've probably watched a couple of them that I've done before, and I've asked questions to the guests like, "Okay, what was it like when you first walked in Kevin's house, and what were your first impressions?" And we've had a lot of great discussions. But after I read your essay, it was so well organized, and some of the concepts that you learned from Kevin. I'm basically going to ask you. I'm going through your headings, you know, throughout this thing, and so I'm going to ask you to comment on these concepts that we're going to go at it a different way. So the first concept from observing Kevin, tell me about tomorrow starts today.
Yes. So tomorrow starts today. That's when Kevin sits down about 4 p.m. He opens up his priority manager and he's like, "Okay, what do I want to do tomorrow? What's on the docket so far?" And so he takes stock of that, and then he also is like, "All right, what absolutely needs to be done? What's an A priority? What's a B priority? Do I need to move anything around? Can I?"
Mm-hmm.
And he does that to it's just so interesting that it's not just like, "Hey, let me look at my schedule like everyone else does.
Mm-hmm.
And, do I have an open hour or whatever?" He's like, "Okay, this is what I absolutely need to do. This stuff, if I really need to move this, I can."
Mm-hmm.
And so he's just like removing all of this stress and anxiety. Anything that could live there, he like takes that away. And I thought that was just kind of the first indication of that. And it's just that's a theme throughout, as
Yes.
well as just removing all of that and all of the little things as well that are aimed to do that, which was really incredible. But yeah, he just kind of goes through all of that. He's got a master list of things that he wants to do over the next however long. And he just kind of goes through that as well. And he's thinking to himself, what needs to be done? What's an A priority? And what sounds like fun?
Mm-hmm.
And he's moving around and he's got the list and he's like, "Okay, what do I want to put where? If am I gonna do this tomorrow or not? No. Am I gonna do this in the next 3 weeks? Yes or no? If it's no, he puts it on that master list. And if it's a yes, well then he just picks a day and he puts it on there. And I'm just like, whoa, okay, this is interesting. And just at face value, this man sitting in his office with this, what looks like a an old school trapper keeper from the 80s with like this 3-ring binder. You look at it like, this guy's a freaking dinosaur. Like, my goodness. Yeah, like this. Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And it's like, haven't you heard of technology and an
Hmm.
app and like Microsoft Outlook and, all the other affiliated programs?
Hmm.
And you realize that like that's not the point. It's like writing it down, thinking about it, thinking it, doing all the things like that's like his, just kind of his magic wand, so to speak, of like thinking about it, doing this, and like he's kind of, putting the intention out there as he's doing it, instead of just like, picking up the phone, calling the guy, getting it done right away. It's like there's kind of more to it. It's like it doesn't feel like the right time to do it. And I'm like, whoa, that's great, because so many times I look at my to-do list, I write down like 20 things I want to do in a day. I don't get any of them done. I go on to do something else
Yeah.
instead. And instead, he's like more intentional with it. And it's just like what feels right. And, he kind of goes about it that way. And that was a really interesting observation on that as well.
When sometimes, Ben, you talked about your list of 20 things you didn't get done. Then you go back and look at that list and it stresses you out. Yeah, and you don't want to touch it. Kevin has said to me many times, you plan your work and you work your plan. And most people don't spend nearly enough time planning. And that was a habit that I had for a long time too. Just I want to get right into my day, get doing things, don't take time to plan. And, by noon, I'm stressed out. And watching, and when you really watch the way he does it, he just doesn't put the pressure on himself. He takes his time with his files and the master list, just like you said, and what really needs to get done in the next 3 weeks, what needs to get done today. It's usually not that much.
Right.
And so that's what I have been trying to be really present doing, even here at the Gen HQ. It's like I will close the door in my office and sit and do some planning, and I feel guilty. I feel like I'm not, Danielle can't find me, Jennifer can't find me. It's 'cause I'm like my door shut, but I'm like, no, I need to take time and just plan and not pick up the phone, and everything. I get so much more done. It's so much less stress. So that right there is we gave him the gold. We can just end this interview now, Ben. Um,
Yeah.
I
Well,
know.
also it's in corporate America, I've worked in corporate America for a long time, and it seems like you don't really get permission to do that,
No.
because it's like people expect you to respond right away. And it was really interesting. So like Kevin had a couple meetings, and they were on Zoom, and before the meeting even starts, like he's stops like you know 15 minutes before the meeting starts. He like arranges himself, he like gets himself ready for the meeting, he turns his phone off.
Yep.
Like, when does that ever happen in
I
corporate
know.
America?
I
Like,
know.
that's sacrilegious. You don't even turn it off at night. Like, that
Oh
thing
yeah.
never is off.
Yeah, in corporate America, you're on a call till 2 minutes after you're supposed to meet the other guy, and then you
Yeah.
call him and say, "Sorry, I'm late. I was, yeah,
Yeah, everything's always people always join like 2 minutes after. They're always like, "Oh yeah, just like you said, just wrapping up this thing,"
yeah,
and it's
just
just
wrap, man."
on to the next. And it seems like there's a lot of talk, a lot of motion, but not a lot of actual achievement at
Right.
times.
That's
And
right.
that was another big thing. It's like, if I were to say like, what is the main theme of the fly on the wall? It's really how to get more results, not
Yes.
do more in less time. It's how to get results.
How
And
to
so
get
everything kind
results.
of cascades on down from there. And a really big part of that is your focus.
Yep.
So making sure you're not having all these notifications and pings everywhere, and not being stressed out even by just having like clutter around. Like,
Yep.
Kevin is very neat and deliberate with things, and it's not
Oh
because he's
yes.
OCD, and he may be OCD, but he's just very deliberate with things.
He's very
And he's got
deliberate.
his filing system as well, and you're like, all right, so an email comes in and you like print it out. Like, what
Hmm.
what are you doing? Like, are,
That's
are you
it's
from
bizarre.
like 1986? You need your fax machine?
It's bizarre
But like,
with
he
the printing the
explained that,
emails.
like, yeah, he just explained that he'll have someone in his office. They're all talking about an email, and someone's talking about like, oh, let me find it in my phone. And so the guy's digging through his phone. Kevin walks up, goes to the filing cabinet, or he already has it in the file folder, and he pulls it out like, oh, you mean this email right here? And the guy's like still looking for it. I can't tell you how many times I was just today. I was looking for an email from a few years ago. I was looking for it, couldn't find it. I mean, I spent like probably 20 minutes looking for it.
Hmm.
So these digital devices are nice, but they have more pitfalls than what we really um, kind of own up to.
Yeah.
So that's
All
that's
right.
very interesting, and it's like less stress because it's like it's all right there.
tell me about everything is a B.
Yeah, well, it turns out that, A priorities versus B priorities, A priorities are things that just absolutely have to be done today. It's, you know, things that just cannot be moved. Like when I was with Kevin that day, he was just kind of, saying things out loud. He was like, all right, my A priorities today, I have to debrief the flies on the wall. That cannot be moved as an A priority because I'm sitting there in his house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't move it,
So
you
sometimes
know?
the A priority isn't necessarily like the biggest thing you got going on. It's debrief the flies. It's take this package to FedEx because it has to be overnighted because it's got to get to Boston by
Mhm.
Friday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's innocuous stuff, but it's just you're right. It's the thing that cannot
Yeah.
be moved. And so many of us we want to make an A priority, just what's most important to us, but it doesn't have to be done today.
Yeah. And so, again, in corporate America, I remember I've been in many situations where everyone's like, okay, guys, we got to get this done. Oh my gosh. And like all this like commotion to get things done. And it seems like all these like priorities kind of come up to the top and things like these need to be done right now. And it's hard to like decide what you actually need to be working on.
Hmm.
And I remember recently I was watching a team in an organization I was affiliated with, and they were like, "All right, so what is a high priority here? Like, we don't really know." And they were like all confused, lots of confusion, and people don't do
Mm.
their best work when they're confused.
No, no. You go into confusion. You have stops come up. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
basically every most everything is a B priority unless it absolutely has to get. It's going to blow up if it doesn't get done today. Most things are a B priority. I on my priority manager, I'll have an entire day of like a long list, all Bs. You
yes,
know,
as it
and
should be, because A's
yeah,
are quite frankly rare.
yeah, they are, they are. There's not a whole, and or they're just stupid. It's like I have to get this report in, on these numbers that
Right.
takes 5 minutes to do. That's the A priority, big deal.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that takes a lot of stress away too, folks. Is knowing that not everything has to get done that day. Do your one or two A priorities, and then you can select. I remember you can select from the B priorities. What can I get? What can I do this morning? What is a cycle that I can start and finish quickly? To knock some of this. Now
Get
you're
that quick
winning,
win.
and yeah, now you're
Mhm.
winning, and he tells himself, "I'm winning, I'm winning." Next thing I wrote down to ask you, Ben, cycles and capture.
Yes, cycles and capture.
Hmm.
So let's talk about capture first, because that was the
Okay.
very interesting. So we all have like those great shower ideas
Hmm.
or an idea wherever like, oh man, I should write that down, and then you don't, or you're
Hmm.
driving somewhere. Well, Kevin has a solution for that. It is his um, tape recorder from 1986 that has the reel-to-reel cassette
Hmm.
tape in there, um, and he still uses it
He's
40 years
fanatical
later,
about it.
and he's
He has
like,
to
he
buy them
does it.
used. They don't make them anymore.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like, well, it's like, wow, what a great system. And so, like, anytime he has an idea, he like, talks it into there. It's off his mind. It's there. It's like it's captured. He's going to deal with it, and he like goes up at the end of the day. He picks a time and he writes all those down, puts them on
Yep.
his list, decides if he still wants to do them. Maybe he doesn't,
Hmm.
but he's got a system for capturing that sort of thing. Nothing falls through the cracks, and that's great. I will say, as I look at adopting that for myself,
Hmm.
getting a tape recorder from 1986, walking around with it is kind of really the most ridiculous concept for a man of my generation to do.
It is.
So,
I know.
I've researched myself like, hey, what can I do to like, you know, do this concept? And so I
Hmm.
actually found out that there's a way that I'm an iPhone user.
Hmm.
So um what you can do is you can actually like reassign functions to like this little button up here, which is usually
Okay.
the volume button.
Yeah.
And so I went in there and it's the tape recorder function.
Oh,
So you
perfect.
can just hit it and it's going. And it's a little bit of a tactile feel to it.
Oh, you're gonna have to show me how to do that.
Yeah, I mean you can go on the internet and figure it out. I can show you too, but
Okay.
it's you can kind of feel it, and it's a great way to utilize your phone, which you already
Hmm.
carry around with you.
Yeah.
And Kevin says like, I like the physical buttons so that you can feel it.
Yeah.
And all those things. And this sort of checks the box. I've done this while driving, and I've operated it in a reasonable function,
Okay.
kind of to like Kevin's downfalls of using the phone. Well, I think that kind of circumnavigates a lot of that, and
Yeah.
it works for me.
Yeah.
So, and
That
maybe for
that
some people, the 1986 tape recorder works. If that's you, great. I think that's awesome. But for me, I'm gonna use my phone.
Yeah, hey, you know what? 1986, I was in middle school. I'm just I'm leaving 1986 in the past. I use my iPhone for stuff like that, and I really do it the clunky way. I actually go into the folder and find it and do the recording. You made it easy. Um,
Right.
yeah, but you know what? I think we're a different generation, so we're a little more tolerant for technology that's just a touchscreen. So I'm still
And
good.
to
I'm
go
still
over
good
the
with that.
things at the end of the day, you don't have to say, and this is the end of the tape, because you just open up your phone and you can just see all the little short 10-second
Exact.
recordings
Yes.
with the timestamp.
Yes.
And when you're done with them, you just delete them.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. 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 Yeah. So it's just different generations do things differently. Um, so
right.
yeah. Um, I know. Yeah. Like my 16-year-old, my new stepson, like he never types in any text messages. He does voice to text. And it's like it always comes out janky. Like, what is he saying? And they just so it's like they pick up. Each generation picks up new habits, and kind of has to be re-educated. The tools change things, and the tools that available to us have changed so much over the years. It's unbelievable. Um, but can we talk about capture? What about cycles? Let's
Cycles.
talk about
Yes.
cycles,
So
cycles of action.
completing a cycle, that's starting something and bringing it to completion.
Hmm.
And that was really interesting to watch him kind of do things like, go through his whole cycle. So like at one point in time, he was, editing a document. And so he had like 30 minutes of exact focused on it. Everything was turned off. He was, on this thing. And then once he was done with that, he said cycle complete. And at that point in time, he picked up his phone. He was checking his email, his
Hmm.
Telegram messages, his text messages, his, whatever messages he had. And he was seeing, is there anything urgent there that I need to respond to right away? Is there things that I can wait?
Hmm.
I'm just going through those things. And I'm like, whoa.
Hmm.
Instead of how everybody else works, myself included, is like, oh, here's this thing. And then you're like, typing away, doing whatever, like, oh, here's another notification. And that's not really a way to work.
Yeah, and if you
Because you
get it
can't
done at
maintain
all, it
that
takes you
focus.
yeah, it takes you 3 times as long that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you notice how much he can get done with 30 minutes of uninterrupted focus?
Yeah, it was incredible. It was like, whoa,
Hmm.
boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if you kind of saw this when you were with him, but rather than trying to eat the whole elephant, sometimes you have a big project that you might consider a massive cycle. It's like you break it down into smaller tasks that are their own little cycles, and you might break this task A into like task B, C, and D, and then each time you do one of these little ones, cycle complete. And then you get in the success cycle complete on the next one, and it might just be like the next step in the process, and that gets you winning, and then you get momentum, because that's we
I
we
also
have that.
kind of understand now, like with that big project, instead of just like working on it, taking the time to plan it out and like the exact steps. It's like, that's tedious. Why don't you just go do it?
No.
No, you need that. These are little small bites, that these are cycles that you can start and complete and get that success cycle going.
Oh, with a project,
And
we
that's,
have a name for that. We call that a battle plan around here, and we actually
yeah,
have like templates to write it out, and to write out the battle plan, who's responsible for each section, and you bang it out. That's how you get things done. Cycles and capture. That is a huge. And by the way, what we're talking about here, if you're just tuning in, this is the manifestation process. This is how it works. We don't grow our hair long. We don't sit in lotus position and meditate, and we don't pray to Hana. This is how it works. This is how you create what you want. This is how you make the money. This is it. So just in case anyone was doubting. Um, this was one of your headings in your document. I think I know what you mean by this, but I'm going to let you explain it. Ready, level, fire.
yeah, ready, level, fire. That's an old saying from the
Hmm.
olden days
Yeah.
when the the armies would, need to fire their muskets, and so they would ready, they would level because you couldn't aim very good with a musket, so you
Right.
just leveled it as best you could, and then you fire.
Yep.
And so what that really means is plan your work and work your plan.
Mhm.
And something that Kevin said multiple times that really resonated with me was measure once or measure twice, cut once.
You're twice,
And
cut
I've
once.
done a lot of stuff in woodworking and shop work, and yes, you definitely want to measure twice and cut once.
Yes. All right.
And that's what he does with his plan there. And so that's why he's always, he's got that priority manager out. And I was shocked, like people were saying, like, hey, Kevin, you spend like half your time on the priority manager. I would say it's like three-quarters of the time. It's like half is like lowballing it.
And then
And
they
he's just like,
wonder
yeah,
what his secret is to getting everything done. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, how do you
And
do it?
there's just like there's a lot of magic to that as well,
Mhm.
of just like he's moving things around energetically there. So if I were ever to explain this to someone in corporate America, it would be hard to explain that, like, that aspect of it.
Mhm.
um but I mean, it's definitely there,
Yeah. Yeah, well,
and it's
and
key.
he told me many times, he said, "You have to write things down and then write them down again and write them down again, because now you're thinking about it and now you're putting it out in the field, and that's how you're generating enough power to manifest it. Now you're thinking about the thing all the time and you really are giving it power." And sometimes, okay, I got to get a definite chief aim and I've got to think about it all the time. These are the things that are in your wish, your command that he talks about. Well, how do you do that? How do you make yourself with your noisy mind, rather than thinking about the fight you had with your wife, your money problems? How do you just think about what you want all the time? Because you do those actions. You're doing the planning and you're writing things down. And you're taking action. That directs your mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
also, like, just even to take, just a little quip that you had there, your money problems or your fight with your wife. So, like, money problems. So he confronts everything, which is the next heading
That's the next.
in the
That's the one I've been waiting to get to. Okay, your next heading:
so he
confront
confronts everything.
everything.
So as he's sitting there in the morning, so he was, enjoying uh, his nice Opus X Churchill, I noticed,
Yeah.
while he was drinking coffee out on his back balcony there.
Hmm.
And he's like had his phone out and he's looking at all of his numbers, all of his financial positions and everything. He's saying like, "Hey, I'm looking at my financial positions." And in the morning he gets kind of upset about that. Like, he's like really contracting the energy, like, it's not enough. It's not, whatever.
Yep.
And I can identify with that too. Like first thing in the morning, checking a financial position, because years ago I was invested heavily into cryptocurrencies, and I just
Okay.
every morning I wanted to like get up and look at see what was going on,
Yeah.
and that was such a powerful wealth creating process to do every day.
Mm.
And I was always like thinking about the next number that I wanted to hit on my investments, and it was
Because
just
it has
like
you thinking about it all the time. That's exactly the process. You're looking at it
yeah,
every morning. You're thinking, and that's what
yes,
Kevin does. He's explained that to a lot of us as well. He in the morning he gets up, he gets angry, and he says, and he doesn't say it's not enough. He says it's got to be more. It's got to be
it's got to
more.
be
And
more.
then he goes on with his day. And then what? Okay, what's the other thing he does at the end of the day though? You got to tell us that. With the same
Well,
thing.
he's also, well, to kind of round out the morning bit of it. He's like, he's really contracting that energy,
Hmm.
and the financial position isn't enough, and if a number isn't where you want it to be, sometimes it's like, oh, let's sweep it under the rug. Like Kevin would be just like, confront it. This is what
Confront
it
it.
is. There's no
Confront it.
number, no stat that is unknown.
Right.
You're not gonna let it, the whatever kind of hide out in the basement for a couple months, because that's not acceptable. You have
Yeah.
to know the score,
You have to know the
and you
score.
have to confront it and kind of blow the charge on it, which is
Yep.
key.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's the flip side. He is in gratitude
Hmm.
of this, and so I think he goes through his phone. He didn't really say it out when, but he was going through his phone
Hmm.
later on in the day, and then he took me through the house
Okay.
later on, and he was, kind of turning the lights off, and he was kind of looking around, and he was like, he said this, I usually look for something that I hadn't really noticed that day, and I just take it in and I really appreciate it. And so he's just kind of in gratitude for everything that he has.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's how you use both sides of the formula in the same day. You contract the energy in the morning get going with your day, get that motivation. At the end of the day, he ends with gratitude. He looks at his financial, he's grateful for the money in the bank account, walks around the house, shuts the light off. He's grateful for everything in the house. That's the formula. That's the formula.
Yeah.
The people layer, Ben.
Yes. Yeah. So I thought it was interesting how he treated people. Um, so with people, he someone called him up and they had like a disagreement. And so the guy called him up, was like, "Hey, I think it's this way." He's like, "Okay, well, tell me more. I hear you." And he wasn't agreeing with him necessarily, but he was hearing him out. He was giving him that space to just let it out and speak his position there.
Okay.
And I thought that was great. That was a very constructive way to go about things. And in corporate America, my experience has been not that.
What's your
There's a lot of
experience?
organizations that rule with an iron fist.
Okay. Because I've been in this organization with Kevin for so long, this is almost like feels like all I know anymore. Tell me about corporate America. Tell me about the iron fist. Is it like they just don't have that? They're like, no, this is how it is.
Oh, well, there's some comments that you can make, David, especially if you have concerns that are what's called a career limiting move.
Okay.
So you don't really necessarily even want to bring things up
Okay.
sometimes. Like,
Yep.
hey, this is a bad idea. It's like, ooh, man, that's probably not going to fly.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you're probably not going to get the feedback that you're looking for. And I remember I was in one organization where the CEO was looking for, feedback, and he was almost like baiting you to like give him whatever. And we were actually in a kind of a workshop type setting with the company that was doing a lot of like disc profiles
Hmm.
and those
Okay.
sorts of things, which is very popular in corporate America and extremely ineffective as well.
It's all right. I got something better than disc. You know it.
Oh yeah, I definitely know it. Yeah,
Mm.
and we can dive into that in a bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we were in like this, kind of circular room, and he was kind of inviting in, um, you know, having a discussion where we were confronting some issues that maybe he was having a blind spot in.
Okay.
And so someone, a brave soul, brought something up, and immediately, instead of talking through it like he said he was, he starts defending, like, no, this is why I did it. This is this, and that. It's like all credibility was like gone then. And so in some groups they do invite some discourse and discussion like that,
Hmm.
but it's only in the stuff that they in like the avenues that they want to talk about it. Sometimes they
Right.
don't want to talk about the hard questions and really confront it there.
Yeah.
And if you're a subordinate bringing that sort of stuff up, that is yeah, a career limiting move.
Yeah. Right. Sometimes they're really not looking for feedback. They're looking for confirmation. They're looking for confirmation
It's
bias. Yeah.
exactly it.
Yep.
Yes, that's exactly it.
You had another great heading. Why watching works.
Yeah, so you can, you know, listen to people talk about it all day long. You can, read the book. You can do all these things, and you will get tremendous amount of benefit. Like I got a tremendous amount of benefit from, reading all the testimonials from the fly on the walls. It was great, especially
Yeah.
yours, David. That
Thank
was,
you.
I mean, you lived with the guy for like 4 years, and you're like, whoa, I never saw this before. And that
Hmm.
was like, oh, wow. Um, but actually being there and watching him do it and like putting all the pieces together and like watching it, that is so critical, because so often you hear about things and it's a little piece here, a little piece there, and you've got like 100 different little pieces, and maybe you can string a good number of them together,
Yeah.
but not all of them.
Yeah.
And that's very key. And also doing it, watching with deliberate intent and like really focusing, like what you did. I mean, you
Mm.
lived with the guy for 4 years, and there's a lot of things like, oh yeah, he does that, and you never kind of put two and two together. But then
Mhm.
once you did the fly on the wall, it was like a completely different experience.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of things that I just passively observed and didn't think much about at the time. And then later on, it came back. So wait a minute, that's why he did that. And I have all these past memory banks of him doing certain things. I'm like, oh, that's what he was doing. And so that was a benefit. It was like they were seeds that were planted that didn't sprout for a while. Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to comment for everyone watching what a rare and special privilege doing a fly on the wall is. one, the price just went up. I don't know if you know that, Ben. I think he doubled the price. It was already a little bit much. When you guys know what it costs, it's an investment. The other thing too, there's going to be a limited amount of time from here forward that he will have the time and the capacity to continue to do these. This is a limited engagement, and there will only be so many of them available. I know he's got designs on, homes across the world, and he may not be available, forever to do fly on the wall. And the only training that will be available are going to be the write-ups. That'll be, I think that's going to be put together as a book. That'll be a training in and of itself, and that's going to be all that'll still be incredibly valuable. But I mean, think about the privilege that we have had to be able to do this, and everyone else who's been a fly, and everyone else I've interviewed, and there's many more of them. It's just a very special thing. And so if you're watching this and you have the capacity, the time, and the means, I think we could both say we highly recommend it.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh
Yeah, I
my
would recommend
God.
doing a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess I'll say this. Originally, I had never necessarily intended to do a fly on the wall, but just kind of some circumstances kind of came up, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is the next logical step.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And
yeah,
me, I thought, well, I lived with them for 4 years. Why do I need to do one of these?
yeah.
Oh, it was magical. It was, I mean, for me, it was, I mean, more eye opening, I think, than anybody, because, I thought I knew and I didn't know. Last question, and the last headline from your essay, Ben. What I changed. What did you change after you fly on the wall? What changed in your life?
Man, well, number one, priority manager.
So you got one. Okay,
You
good.
just you can't like well, honestly, they're not even for sale for this year, so I had to get like kind of the next best thing, and I found one that was like, I give it a C plus,
Okay.
but it's a way to like just kind of manage, you know,
Yep.
my
Okay.
schedule for the day and just, hour by hour what I've got going on, what are some priorities and like a master list. And so I can get a good percentage of that done. And quite frankly, eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Yep.
So that's uh that's what I'm doing on that. And also being really conscious of like, okay, cleanliness in my space. That's
Okay.
really important because of how energy flows. And also, how do I spend my time and also just the creation formula, like we talked about
Mm.
earlier, like getting like confronting the
Yes.
numbers early in the morning,
Yes.
it's not high enough, and doing that whole process as well. And so
Yeah.
it's a lot, and it takes a while to implement everything on that. But inch by inch, it's a cinch, right?
Yep. Yard by yard, it's hard. So yeah, just
Correct.
inch by inch. By the way, I don't think I'm stepping out of line by mentioning this, because it's kind of common knowledge. But Kevin is working on his own. We're going to have a priority manager available at the gin store. We're working on our own version of it, so it's going to be available to gin members everywhere. Um, I know a lot of you watching this will probably jump for joy when you know that. And if you're not a gin member, we can fix that. Just reach out to me. Ben, do you have anything I didn't ask? Anything that you want to share with the audience about Kevin, fly on the wall, priority manager, productivity, or just a slice of philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, once again, it is costly to do a fly on the wall with Kevin. They're very rare.
Mhm.
He doesn't have a lot of slots available, and
Mhm.
who knows how long he's going to do them.
Yeah.
But there is a tremendous amount of value that you can get for yourself just by reading those write ups that
Yeah.
people have done.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. And they're available. They're out there. They're on the fan club channel.
yeah. And so even I was writing this article, and it was just writing an article kind of for business purposes, like, hey, I spent time, at this guy's house, and these are, he's super successful. This is what I noticed. This is what's different than how everyone else in corporate America works.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm just kind of drawing these similarities and dissimilarities. And what I've noticed is I was going through it a lot, and so it was a very it's almost like a lot of energy work was being done as I really dove in. I was reading all of these and I was writing things down. And this is kind of a wild story. So like I just kind of thought of this one night at like 9 o'clock before I was going to bed. So I just kind of like was working on it. I'm like, okay. Then I laid down, and then after an hour, like I couldn't sleep. I'm like, I'll just work on it for a little while. And I start working on it, and then the sun came up. And I'm like, I'm not even tired. What's going on here? And so I just like went for a walk around my neighborhood. I'm like, yeah, this is probably one of those things Kevin talks about when someone gets like has some energy work done and they're just kind of wired awake.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, I should go to sleep.
I
So I
sh-
slept for a couple hours and then that was that. So
oh wow. Wow. That's awesome. Well, Ben, thank you so much for sharing so much gold with me and the audience. This is going to be, I imagine, a very popular one. So I just
yeah,
want to
well, yeah, thank you, David. I mean, I really enjoy your podcast that you're doing here. You have so much gold that you're pushing out here.
thank
I
you.
always enjoy watching them, and thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely, and maybe we'll do it again sometime because I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to talk about. The usual plugs, all of the usual links are in the description below. If Ben lets me, I will put a link to um, his awesome essay. Please join us in the school group if you're not there yet. We have a next level success program that you can use to accelerate your journey through all of this. So until then, we'll see you next time. It's been great. Thanks.